Welcome to another episode of Showtime with Coop, insightful BS with my Laker legend and NBA friends. And tonight we have Reggie Theus. Reggie, one of the California guys, I like to say. We're going to get into that. But before we get into that, what are three things that help you make it to the NBA from a young guy?
Wow. Okay. I started off as a baseball player. So I have a real belief that your skill level grows with your environment. In other words, we used to play wiffle ball. You know what a wiffle ball is, in the driveway. And I think that also helps you with your hand-eye coordination. We used to have a game called Great Plays where we would, in my neighbor's yard, they had a hedge, and we would run and jump over the hedge. They'd throw the football or the baseball, and we'd catch it diving over the top. And when we hit the ground rolling, the key was you got to yell, "Great play!"
How many great plays did you have?
Listen, it was a great play as long as you didn't hit the sprinkler on the other side.
Now, let me ask you this, Reggie, because it seemed like y'all had some money. Our wiffle ball, when we used to have it, that's that ball that was solid on one end and it had all these lines on the other that met together.
Yeah, no, what you talking about? I grew up on 118th in Maine, so I don't know. I grew up down.
Ball, we would beat it until it was broken, and it only hung on by one thing because you know how it had the.
You
guys probably had a new one every other day, right?
No, Mike, no. Sorry, you got the wrong guy here. Listen, you grew up in Pasadena. I don't want to hear it. I'm not trying to hear that. I've known you a long time, so I know better. And then, dribbling up and down the driveway. I thought, Mike, one of the things that helped me growing up is I was small. Like, I was the smallest guy on my 8th grade basketball team. So that really helped me, develop my ball handling skills and dribbling up and down my driveway, having the kids try to steal the ball from you when you don't have much room to get away from. All those are creating and developing your habits and your sports in general.
So, Reggie, when did you start growing? You went to Inglewood High School, and through those summers, when did you realize that you were going to not play baseball, but play basketball?
Well, like I said, I started off playing football and baseball. Baseball was my first love. I was the smallest guy on my 8th grade basketball team. And I was 5'10" as a freshman in high school. And when I graduated, I was 6'5". Then I grew 2 inches in college. So, I was pretty much a point guard most of my life until I, obviously got to be 6'7" and they were able to play me at the other guard, but then I still had point guard skills, Mike, I was like one of those early before combo guard word was out there. I was one of those real combo guards.
I must admit to that. And before I pass this up, because we have some women listeners, Reg, you know what, AT, Reggie was 6'5", 6'7", and had a big afro, and was a very handsome guy, man. Very handsome guy, green eyes. So it was almost amazing to play this Adonis.
Yeah. Now I'm like everybody else with COVID weight.
And I always tell people that the reason it was hard for me to guard Reggie when we were playing in the NBA, because when I would look in his eyes, I'd get lost in his eyes, and he'd and shake me. So, Reggie, play at Inglewood, have a great year. How'd you find your way to UNLV?
Well, first of all, there's no way you can say that and not follow it up with something, even if it's a curse word. Now, obviously, everybody who's come on here knows Coop was a great defender, physical and everything else. And he was also on a great basketball team. So it was a double whammy for me because most of my teams sucked. So I'll never forget. True story. Now, you may not even remember this, Coop.
Oh, I do. I know a story. You gotta tell.
No. So we're playing, and I'm going 100 miles an hour because, listen, you do two things. If you're not going to win the game, you got to finish the game. You better get yours. If you got to keep the team close. You got to play hard the whole time. And it was really tough for me. But Coop said, Reggie, would you slow down? I said, Coop, what are you talking about? He said, you're down by 20. Slow down.
What was it like? Get 30 on me.
What was Inglewood like growing up in the 70s in Inglewood, California?
Well, see, I was one of the first groups of kids who integrated. So I was supposed to go to Morningside High School. And 1975, they basically integrated Inglewood, and the cutoff line was Crenshaw and Van Ness or something like that. So everybody on this side of Crenshaw had to go to Inglewood High School. Everybody on the other side of Crenshaw went to Morningside. So I was bused over there, and it was interesting because I grew up in a mixed environment, different cultures. I learned what white flight was early. We had the racial issues early, and the school went through a transformation. And after my second year, it was pretty harmonious. We all got along. We had our beefs, but yet we worked it all out. And it was pretty cool because being exposed to a different culture that early, I thought really was enlightening for me.
You know what, Reg, growing up in California, there have been so many of us, and when we were coming up, all we heard was back east basketball, Rucker League, this and that. And I'm going to just run down a couple of names, Reggie, and you can kind of you don't have to comment on them, but these are some of the people that grew up with us. Raymond Lewis, Roy Hamilton, David Greenwood, Freeman Williams, Marcus Johnson was from here. John Williams.
Oh yeah.
There's this guy, I don't know if you played against him, Mark Wolfmeyer. You remember him?
Yeah, Wolf, the scorer, the shooter, deluxe scorer.
Like 48
points
in high school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dwayne Poley, Lorenzo Romar, Byron Scott, just to name a few. And I'm sorry if I missed any others.
But there's a bunch.
A lot of guys. Reggie, where would you rank yourself among all of those? And not trying to say you're first, second, or third, but do you feel that you played competitively with a lot of those players?
Well, let me take it a little further. 1975, Coop, was probably the strongest year in LA history for that class. Was probably the best in LA history. Mm-hmm. We had 9 guys playing in the NBA.
Yep.
And that, I'm a year or two behind Marcus, so I didn't put him in this group, but you had David Greenwood, Roy Hamilton, you had Kiki Vandeweghe, Gig Sims, you had Trouble, James Hardy. Remember James Hardy, Long Beach Poly? Yeah.
You didn't know him by his first name, you knew him by his nickname, Trouble.
Yeah, Trouble, exactly. James Wilkes, you had Bill Laimbeer, Cartwright, who was
Reggie. His name is not allowed to be mentioned on this show because
I understand.
Motherfucker with a passion. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Then you appreciate when he came to Inglewood, guys were shooting at their bus, so you can appreciate that. But think about it. Think of all the guys that I named that had just stellar NBA careers, and I'm not Brad Hollins. Remember Brad Hollins?
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah. So there's that class was incredible when it comes to playing in the NBA. So if I was to rank myself, when it comes to NBA careers, I would put myself up there with Marcus, yourself. There's probably about 3 or 4 of us that had real, lengthy NBA careers where we actually, not just a cup of coffee or just was on the team. We were actually players. So you being Mr. championship, Michael Cooper. I used to get sick of hearing that, by the way. Just
stop that shit, Reggie. You know what? I would trade my career for your beauty any day, man. For your handsomeness and everything, and them green eyes. And look at you, Reggie. How old are you now?
I'm 63.
63. I'm 64. I haven't had hair in the last 3 years. You still got a nice flowing mane and really nice and everything. So Reggie,
Coop, I would cut it all off for the championship rings you got. So that let's not even keep it. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. That don't mean nothing.
So Reggie,
not a thing.
You have a great high school career. How did you find yourself at Vegas with Coach Tarkanian?
Well, 1975, I was being recruited heavily by, the Dons in San Francisco. I was pretty much everybody in the country. And UCLA was right there. But what happened is, in those days, there were very little recruiting rules by the NC2A. So Tark and his assistant coach, Lynn Archibald, were at every single one of my games. The reason I didn't go to UCLA was because Wooden had just retired. Mm-hmm. And not only did Wooden retire, but they had 4 other guards going to UCLA at the time. I know Roy Hamilton and David Greenwood, about 5 or 6 others. I want to say Spanarco. You remember Spanarco? Not Spanarco.
Jeff Spanarco.
It was another one. It was
okay.
It was a couple more. I can't think of their names right now, but those guys were going there too. So, and see, because we grew up going to UCLA and playing in the men's gym all the time, it wasn't that big a deal for me. I was more interested in style of play. So, obviously Vegas was a run and gun type of offense and really fit the way I wanted to play. And the other part was it was close to home. The only thing I didn't get a chance to do, I tried really hard, is I wanted to take a trip to Hawaii. Because I tried to act like I would come, but they figured it out and canceled my trip.
You should have had Tark schedule a trip, because that's one of the things.
Oh, we did eventually.
We twice.
Yeah, no, we did.
To Hawaii.
No, we did eventually. Yeah, we definitely went over there. So it was a lot of fun, though. But Vegas was perfect for me because it wasn't far from home. And, obviously you had Jackie Robinson. I don't know if you remember him, played it Morningside. Robert Smith played at Morningside. Yep. Big Lou Brown played at Vervin Day and he played at in Vegas. So we had 4 or 5 guys from LA on Vegas's team. So it really made me feel comfortable with the program.
What's a good Tark story?
Man,
a good Tark story. There's so many.
Right.
If I have to kill you if I tell you most of them.
well, Reggie, here, that's what I was getting ready to bring up. And one of the recruiting ploys that Tark would have. Do you remember Sugarloaf? Stripper? Sugarloaf, the stripper?
Yeah. I actually know a couple of them, but I don't know them personally. No. No, if you got to know her, I guess maybe there's a different story there. You ought to tell me about it. You probably got to meet Donkey Lady too, but I don't know about that.
Right, I ended up going to New Mexico, so I did not get to meet Sugarloaf in person.
Well, hey, by the way, it ain't much difference at New Mexico. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on there too.
Well, Norm Ellenberger wanted to be in the bright lights, but he had to suffice. He had to survive in the Southwest. So, Reggie, you have a great career in Vegas, and you get drafted. Did you get drafted by the Bulls, or was it the Kansas City Kings?
No, from the Bulls. The Bulls. I left my junior year, and I was the 9th player drafted in the NBA. So I would have been a present day lottery pick. Coop, do you ever think about the money these guys are making? I mean, does it just it just like my stomach starts hurting every time I think about it.
Well, my stomach hurts a little bit, but the only thing I'm satisfied about is that they would not be making this money unless the groundwork that we laid down in the 80s for people to enjoy the game. And I always say this about Magic and Bird, is that they changed the game of basketball.
Yeah.
Those players coming in, and they made it enjoyable to pass and be part of a team. So I get a little peeved, but I'm also happy because without our success, they wouldn't be making this money.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's very admirable, but it's still bullshit.
But we still look at the we still have the money.
It's still bullshit. So let's call it what it is.
Let me ask you this: if you were in today's game, how much money do you think you'd be making?
Oh, I'd be a full boat guy.
Yeah,
I'd be a max.
Number.
I'd be a max. I'd be 100 million. Be 100 million plus. Are you kidding me?
$100 million, Reg.
I'm not really sure, but I'd probably be somewhere you wouldn't be able to call me up on the phone.
Instead of carrier pigeon to get to you.
Listen, you got to call my people so my people can call their people and then get to me that way. It's who knows? I do know this. When you're dealing with generational money, like these guys are dealing with.
Yep.
Where we are in our age now, in our 60s, we don't have a mindset of a 20-year-old, but the amount of things that we can do right now with that kind of money, when you think about your family, your family's family, your kids, there's so many people that you could really help. And if you can hang on to your money, which I think that a lot of guys, they make so much money, even when they make mistakes, they're okay. But it's a blessing. And I truly believe that, you are where you're supposed to be, and having the opportunity to sit here and talk to you, having the platforms that we have now, we can make jokes about it, but it's all God's will. And yeah, we're blessed to have the careers that we've had.
Yeah, for sure. So Reggie, get with the Bulls.
And what were the Bulls like in the late 70s?
It was an amazing thing. You played for 5 coaches.
Yeah, you would bring that up.
Yeah. The Bulls weren't a really well-run organization until Michael Jordan got there, right?
Well, you used to live there, so listen, I had 5 coaches. I had 6 coaches in 5 years.
Wow,
that's where my career started off. Arthur Wirtz was the owner of the team at the time, and he was a hockey guy. Our team back in those days, we were a tax shelter. That's how he hid his money. That's what he did. We were a write-off, and so it was run that way, and it really showed in the box office. And obviously, when Reinsdorf took over and Michael came, and it became a different story. I missed playing with Michael Jordan by 15 minutes. By the way, how about that one? That's crazy, right?
Tell that story.
Well, your trade deadline is in February, and it's February at a certain time. And obviously I was going through, problems with Kevin Lockery at that time, and they wanted to trade me. And it was 15 minutes before the deadline where they couldn't have traded me, and they drafted Michael Jordan the next year in that draft. I could have been Paxton. I could have been Kerr, I could have been any of those guys. I'll be sitting here with my hand, rings. I'll be like Coop. I have like 3 or 4 rings. I'll be just like Coop. Sit back and talk stuff.
But Reggie, Hodges. It's like you said.
Craig Hodges, yeah, you're right.
It's like you said, though, you were put in the position because I think had you been with him, you wouldn't have been able to be the player you became. I mean,
I don't know, Coop.
Player.
You've been a different. Well, yeah. Listen, you would have been different, and I when you watch the show that they did, the documentary that they did, what's it called?
The Last Dance.
Last Dance this summer. When you saw that, I work on Sirius XM radio, so I do a lot of shows, and there's always this conversation going on about that when it came out, and how all the guys were griping and bitching about what they didn't get enough time, they didn't get enough props from Michael. I'm like, shut up, just hold your nose, close your mouth, and just suffocate, because that's exactly where your career would have been had you not played with Michael Jordan. So shut up, Right. Don't tell me about he didn't praise me enough, he didn't pat me on my back enough. What are you kidding me?
You could have lived with that, Reggie.
Oh, come on, Coop. Listen. It would have been a joy, actually. I tried, even in Sacramento. I tried after so many years of playing on, a bunch of bad teams. Mm-hmm. I tried to get to a better team, and that's when they traded me to Atlanta, and I got to play with Doc and Dominique and Moses, and we won 55 games that year, but that only lasted a year, and then I ended up in Orlando. So the only good thing about where I've been is, and this is the truth, I grew up a Laker fan. I grew up, in Inglewood, 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from the Forum. The Lakers team back in the day, used to practice at Inglewood High School. So I used to see all those guys. I've been a Laker fan for a long time. But my season was over early, so I always got to come home and watch you guys in the playoffs. So it was, and then I started working, doing television and stuff. So I got to come home, and then I got to be a part of the the TV program. So it was good.
Funny, Reggie. Hey, we're at the point of my show where we call it Coop's Lightning Round. Rich, I'm gonna give you 6 names, 6 names, and just tell me a little bit about that person, okay? Joe and Gavin Maloof.
Great guys. A lot of fun. I was with Joe and Gavin. You know, they supported me when I was at New Mexico State. They were, you know, part of our support group. I got to become the Sacramento Kings coach, but it was a bad year because they had started to lose their first, you know, few $1 million. And Joe Maloof got both his knees done. So he was on meds, pretty heavy meds that year. But great guys, still friends today. I actually talk to their mom every now and then. She just got married, you know, a couple of years ago, and we're still in contact. So really appreciate those guys.
For the listeners, those are two gentlemen that owned the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, the $6 burger guys. Remember that commercial?
Yeah. Stop it, Reg.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, I used to work. When the Palms Hotel was the hotel that they owned, which became the Spot, right? I worked there for a year before when I was in between coaching and TV and all that stuff. I was a casino host for a year over there.
Wow,
it was a lot of fun.
So you really use your talent, your looks, your handsome looks, and the green eyes.
No, hey, Coop. Listen, it was a hell of a job. I had a house in Vegas. I never even went there. I had a suite in the hotel. And my job was, you know, I handled all the celebrities that came in. So it was a blast.
And you didn't run into Sugarloaf there?
I say, no, she wasn't allowed in our establishment.
Okay, Reggie, next name, Raymond Lewis.
Oh, come on. The best. Before his time, you know, really is a great example of having enormous talent and not the attitude to go with it. You know, he had it way before his time and really gave numbers to anybody who walked in the gym. I'll give you another name, the Bird Everett. Remember that? Remember their battles back in the day? You want to see 45 and 50? Those two guys got together. That's what you were going to see. 45 and 50 points. It was unbelievable.
That's right. That's a good name, Reggie. Jerry Sloan, the late, great Jerry Sloan.
My favorite. You know, Jerry coached me my second year. I learned a lot about basketball. I learned a lot about the principles that you live by. Jerry was a tough guy to deal with because he was Jerry Sloan my first year trying to coach. After that, he started to, you know, find himself. But I learned so many things about the way he handled people and the law that he lived by, and enough that it had, even today when I'm coaching, I still live by some of the rules that I learned with him just in the short period of time I was with him. And ironically, you know how it works, Coop. As we got older, and I had a chance to get to know Jerry from a different level, we became very much closer friends. You know, I ran autos when I was coaching. I ran his offense. I talked about his defense, you know, and, you know, the only problem I ever had with Jerry is he says, you know, he used to get on me about my defense, obviously. And I said, Jerry, let's just understand one thing. I'm never going to be able to play defense like you, but you're never going to be able to score like me either. So let's find a happy medium somewhere and let's live right there.
Jerry Tarkanian.
A chameleon. You know, Jerry, he was a person that he taught me that there's two types of coaches. One that has a system and makes his system work the players. And then the other coach creates a system for his players that he has. And he that was something that I learned from him. I learned what hard work was all about. I learned what being in shape was all about. And, you know, Jerry Tarkanian's a funny guy. You know, yeah. Jerry, he'll just talk to you. He'll start talking and yelling and screaming until he just run out of breath. You know, he just run out of breath. His lips would be moving and nothing coming out. It's like Roger Dangerfield. You know, unbelievable. But he was great one-liners. You know, I'll never forget the one he told us. I'll never forget this when he says, you guys are horrible. You're terrible. You're an embarrassment to the school. You're robbing the university. Next time you go pick up your checks, wear a mask.
Oh, y'all were getting paid in Vegas? I should have went there.
Yeah. don't talk about breaking rules now. You know, if you live in a glass house, do not throw stones. Yeah. Come on, New Mexico.
Doc Rivers.
Doc was a teammate. October 13th, birthday guys. Me and him the same birthday. Paul Pierce, same birthday.
No kidding.
Yeah. We used to race. Back in the day, we used to race who called each other first on their birthdays. Just everything was about competition. You know how that is. Doc and I, crossed paths on a number of occasions. Doc used to ask me for my tennis shoes after games when I played for the Bulls. Now I'm trying to get a job from him. How, that's ironic, right? That's how things work. Never burn bridges, man. That's all I can tell you. Never know who's going to be able to give you a job one day.
Who's the better golfer?
I've actually tried to get Doc out on the course many times, and he kind of ducked me. But the last time I remember, he was a 10, a 9, or a 10, and that's kind of where I am too. So we're probably pretty close to the same.
Michael Jordan,
the GOAT. When you play Michael Jordan, the night before you got to play Michael Jordan, you don't sleep too well.
Amen.
Yeah, you didn't sleep too well, because I always say the difference between Michael Jordan and other great players, put Magic in that group, Larry Bird, you can go on and on, Kareem. I mean, there's so many guys that are in that group. The difference with Michael Jordan is Michael would embarrass you. If you slipped up, he would embarrass you, because, he had the swag. He's got the long, the shorts, and he stick his tongue out and he dunk on everybody. And then your teammates would be pissed off at you the whole time. But Michael Jordan is his tenacity, and you've seen up close guys with tenacity. We played with even Magic Johnson after we retired, and he was still a bulldozer. Yeah. You were around Kobe. All those guys on that level with that type of persona, they're all bulldozers. That's why I would say you can't. If you play with a guy like that, you have to accept and respect and and think about, this is who they are, and this is why they're who they are. And all you're doing is you're along for the ride. So do your job,
Last but not least, Joe Weekly. And before you answer, let me tell the listeners out there, Joe was a local hero who coached over at Crenshaw High School, but he helped a lot of us when we were young men playing basketball at the Joe Weekly tournament become something in basketball, as well as young people in our community. Your thoughts, Reggie?
Well, all the guys in your podcast that you've named from our era and before went through Joe Weekly's league. You going to play in the Joe Weekly league? Yes. Everybody played. And Joe was someone that you could count on, a mentor to everybody, somebody that you knew was going to have your back. And if you needed something, if you needed a conversation, if you got in trouble, Joe Weekly would always be there for you. But he really gave us the ability and the avenue to play, because we had to have gyms that stayed open and places to go, or we never would have developed into the players that were actually. You probably still play though. I don't know.
Reggie, please, man. I just had a hip replacement. I don't do
really?
playing, man.
Yeah, I got a new knee. I got a new knee. I got a new knee last year, so I'm good. Yeah, I'm bionic now, boy.
So listen, you listen to the Showtime with Coop. We got Reggie Theus here. A couple more questions, Reggie, for you, and I'm gonna let you go because I know you're a busy man. It's too late to play golf, so I know you got family duties to do. Reggie, what do you think of, and we talked about this a little bit now, today's NBA?
Yeah, today's NBA is different, Coop. It's difficult. Analytics has changed everything. Analytics is great. But I don't need analytics to tell me what my eyes already can see. I like analytics because it gives you numbers to back up what you're talking about, because you can always go to the book. You can always go to numbers, and you can spew out numbers and facts that go along with the conversation that you're trying to have with any of your players. You as a coach, me as a coach, and just in general. Defensively, I think that today's, I don't like the way they play defense. I don't like all the switching bigs. Think about it for a second. If a center tried to guard you, there's no way a center can guard me. I get a good shot off of them every single time. But when they took the physicality out of the game, they took away a lot of competitiveness.
Yeah.
That was the physical part and the physical competitiveness of the game. I don't understand why there's no more post-up players. I can't understand that we averaged over 100 points a game back in the day, and they say no more mid-range shots. Everything is a layup or a three. And, it's just a weird sense. But I'll tell you this, Mike, that there's a whole 2 generations of players, of kids, I should say, that have grown up and don't know what old school basketball is all about, have no concept, no understanding. All the guys you've named, these kids today have never seen play. So they're growing up understanding that the game is played the way they see it today. So it's accepted. And the NBA is thriving, billions of dollars on the table. So no one's trying to hear about what we should do because it's made for TV. And, all I can say is the athletes are much better athletes than we were, but we were way more skilled than they are.
I agree with that. Reggie, what? I forgot to talk about this. Your coaching resume is very impressive, kind of like along the lines of mine, where you coached in college, you coached in the pros, you coached in the D League, which is now the G League.
Yeah.
And we have the luxury of coaching in the Big Three together.
How about that? That's hey, Coop, I always say that the coaching in the Big Three is like just being Mr. Personality. You get to sit back and say a few things here and there and just try to stay out of the way.
All right.
But it's a great gig though. You're froze, Coop.
You're froze.
Did I lose y'all?
No, you're frozen.
We're still here. I got tornado sirens going off here, guys.
Nice.
But thank you so much, Reggie. I appreciate it, man. It was great talking to you. And Coop said he'll call you too. So thank you very much.
Anytime, man. If anything else comes up, you want to talk, just holler.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Okay. You have an open invitation.
All right, Reggie. Be well, man. Well, take care.
So seriously, anything comes up, let me know.
Thank you. Will do.